Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Bad Comic Review, where I poorly review things, and nobody really watches. So, I just finished reading Mr. Miracle, Issue 1. This is a 12-part story from DC. Came out in, I believe, 2017, started. Still going on. I think they're on Issue 6 now. Well, I picked this up on kind of a whim. Somebody had offhandedly mentioned it, and they hated it. They said how bad it was. They were liars! This book was great! It's $3.99 of pure entertainment. It is definitely a mature title, but I think this is definitely an underrated book. If you've heard any bad things about it, it's because somebody told you lies to keep it to themselves, or because they do not understand good material. So the art style is this very pop art retro style that has all the little pixels and dots, because that's how they used to print comics on newsprint. And then it kind of switches between that and this more pencil rough line work, and there's even like scenes where Oberon's talking and there's like a piece of tape over him, and it's a very surreal kind of patchwork thing, but it's real interesting because like we start off with scot-free Mr. Miracle trying to kill himself, and there's all these sections that come back around. Like there's the story about a kid in an art class drawing a picture. Well, we hear that same story later. Two people beat the crap out of him saying the same thing. Stand. Then he gets hit, knocked down, he gets up, and Orion beats him up the first time. Barda smacks him once the second time, and Orion's a bully because he's got an anger management issue, and he even says I'm the son of Darkseid, but he's technically the son of the All-Father because Scott was the All-Father's, or the High Father's son, and he traded with Darkseid as part of a peace accord years ago. That's not really explained, but it's also not super relevant. You can kind of infer that. So Barda and Scott were raised on Apocalypse by Granny Goodness and tortured effectively, and Scott's the greatest escape artist ever, and Barda's his wife. She's really tall, but that's okay. Well, it's interesting because they intersperse these little black panels throughout, because most of the pages have 9 panels. A lot of times one of those panels will say Darkseid is, and it's the only thing on there. There's even a full page one where that happens, and there's some interesting little things, curiosities, like he mentions that Barda's eyes aren't blue. Why are they brown? And she says they've always been brown. And then we have this interesting thing where he's on a like late night talk show, but every time he looks at the TV, it's like slightly out of focus, and there's lines going through it like an old TV would, one of the dial ones with the big tubes. Whenever he sees a TV, they're always like those old ones that are just not getting the signal right, or they're slightly out of focus. They have an interesting conversation between him and Godfrey, who's the late night talk show host. The guy asks him why he tried to kill himself, and he says it was a trick. I've been doing a lot of escapes lately, but there's one thing no one's ever come back from, and that's death. No one escapes death. And Godfrey even says, but did you really escape death? So there's that. That's really weird and interesting, but we don't really know what it means. But I think it's a clue for something that happens later down in the story arc, but I'm not sure. I have my suspicions, and I don't know if they're correct or not, because I actually haven't really read any of the other issues, but I think that he's actually not in the real world. I think he's in some sort of matrix. That's why he's like hallucinating and talking to Oberon about these gauntlets that Oberon picked up off of Thangarian, and that's where we see the tape over Oberon's face. But Oberon's apparently dead, died of cancer from smoking, and Scott was the one that had to make the decision to pull the plug. But then they're summoned back home by a mother box saying that the High Father's dead, and they're getting called back. Orion's taken command. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, because if the High Father's dead, and Darkseid supposedly has part of the anti-life equation, or all of it, then bad things are afoot. So they have to go through the boom tube and go home. Yeah, I'm intrigued where this goes. This was a very compelling issue. Very interesting. I'm excited to see where issue 2 goes. I've got first 3 issues right now. I bought them all at the same time. When I couldn't find any good Marvel books to pick up at the comic shop, I bought these instead. And I'm going to pick up the others as soon as I get a couple extra bucks. But yeah, so far this is fantastic. That was a great first issue. It's a story, it's not an action issue. So the book looks like it's going to be like a long novel. It's not an action adventure shoot 'em up, which is fine. Mr. Miracle is a fascinating character. I've always liked him. I thought his outfit was really cool too. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see issue 2. I would definitely recommend this one. Say go out and pick it up if you can. I know they did several prints with different covers and all that, so there should be a copy floating around at your local comic shop or buy it online. I recommend going to support your local comic shop if you can. So yeah, definitely pick this one up. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you like it as much as I did, because I thought it was fantastic. The art style really isn't my thing most of the time, but it really did work very well for this one. But that'll do it for this episode. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel, and hopefully we'll see you on the next episode.